Today I messed up by reading. Today I made a shocking discovery that turned my world upside down. I accidentally opened a message from my ex-wife, and what I found was nothing short of a betrayal. I learned that my friend of 30 years, who I thought I could trust, has been secretly trying to pursue my ex. To make matters worse, he's married, and I was his best man. Over the past 6 years, I've confided in him about my struggles, my past, and everything in between. It turns out he's been using that information against me to convince my ex to have a threesome with him and his wife. Can you believe that? As if that wasn't enough, he even loaned us money during our marriage and has been trying to use that as leverage, suggesting he would erase her debts if she agreed to his advances. I mean, who thinks like that? It feels like a plot twist straight out of a movie. I never expected to uncover such a deep betrayal from someone I considered family.
Am I the bad guy for unintentionally waking up my husband while feeding baby? My husband and I recently welcomed our first baby, and let me tell you, we are definitely in the thick of it. Our little one is just 2 months old, and like many new parents, we've had our fair share of late-night adventures, especially when it comes to feeding. We've settled into a routine where my husband takes the first half of the night and I take over for the second half. Our baby sleeps in a bedside crib, waking up every 3 to 4 hours for a bottle. I found it easiest to feed her right by her crib, where it's quiet except for the soft sounds of her drinking. However, my husband has a bit of a sensitivity to those lip-smacking noises, and he often wakes up, struggling to fall back asleep. He's asked me to move to a different room during feedings, but I've resisted. Honestly, I think that would just create more hassle for me and risk waking the baby up even more. It's not my fault that he finds those sounds disturbing, and I feel it's a bit unreasonable for him to ask me to change my routine because of a personal preference. My husband insists that his sensitivity to lip sounds is something he can't change. He's tried wearing earplugs, but they often fall out while he's sleeping. He feels it's a small request and has been hurt by my refusal to accommodate him, even calling his condition stupid and ridiculous. To add a little context, we both work from home with flexible schedules, so it's not like he has a stressful job that requires him to wake up early. Plus, he usually stays up late, keeping the baby with him in another room until he goes to bed. It's only recently that he's mentioned his aversion to those sounds, which has made our nighttime routine a bit more complicated. So, I'm left wondering, am I the bad guy for unintentionally waking him up while feeding our baby? Today I messed up by petting my friend like a dog. I have a deep love for animals, and I'm known for being quite affectionate with my pets. So, when my friend was feeling down and crying the other day, my instinct to comfort kicked in. I started patting her back and hugging her as she shared what was bothering her. She was sitting down while I stood beside her, trying to offer some support. At one point, she looked up at me with teary eyes, and I couldn't help but say, "Ah, I'm so sorry." And then, without thinking, I began to pat her head. It felt natural at the moment, but then I took it a step further and started scratching under her chin and on her neck, just like I would with my dog. I did this for a few seconds before it hit me. What was I doing? I quickly stopped, feeling a wave of embarrassment wash over me. To my relief, she didn't seem to mind at the time. She just continued crying. However, later on, when we were reflecting on our conversation, I made the mistake of mentioning how bad I felt because she reminded me of my dog when she cried. I even brought up the chin scratching, thinking it was a light-hearted moment. That's when things took a turn. She suddenly snapped, saying, "I'm just a dog to everyone, huh?" Confused, I asked her what she meant, and she revealed that her ex used to call her a dog for being clingy and always following him around. I felt terrible. I had no idea my innocent gesture would trigger such feelings. I quickly apologized, but she didn't react, and the mood shifted awkwardly. So, there I was, trying to comfort my friend, and instead, I ended up making her feel worse. Lesson learned. Sometimes it's best to stick to hugs and avoid the petting.
Am I the bad guy for telling my roommate that this is the one day I cannot hear about his fear of death? I'm a 19-year-old woman living with a 28-year-old roommate, whom I'll call Charlie. Charlie has a crippling fear of death, and I usually do my best to listen and empathize with him. However, today is particularly tough for me because it marks the anniversary of my father's passing. I lost him when I was very young, but that doesn't make the day any easier. Before today, I had mentioned to Charlie that this date was significant for me. I thought it would be understood that I wouldn't be able to handle his usual rants about death today, but I didn't explicitly say so. When he started talking about his fears, I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. I knew he had mild anger issues, and I worried that asking him to stop would only make things worse. I tried my best to listen, and eventually I had to speak up. I calmly told him that I couldn't handle the topic today of all days. His reaction was immediate and harsh. He called me a selfish name he often uses and stormed off, slamming his door. He shouted about how I was being unreasonable, pointing out that I barely knew my father since he died when I was 4. While he was technically right, it didn't lessen the emotional void I felt. I don't think I'm in the wrong for wanting a day to mourn my father without being reminded of death. I work as a body removal technician, so I'm usually more than okay with discussing death on other days. But today, I needed a break from it all. I'm still questioning if I could have handled the situation better, which is why I'm sharing my story. So, am I the bad guy here?